Hey guys, what's up? So let us discuss the concept of droughts, why they are part of disasters, why they affect people and economy and our country and subcontinent and Africa so much, why their frequency is likely to increase because of climate change. And in this past decade from 2002 to 2009, they were one of the worst droughts ever seen in the last 100 years. So what is drought? Okay, so drought is basically a continuous and lengthy period during which you don't have significant rainfall. So that is one definition of drought. Okay, Meteorological Department of India says that a period of at least 22 days on which like there is no more than like 0.25 millimeter of rainfall, like out of 22, 0 days where there is more than 0.25 millimeter of rainfall, so that is considered as a drought. Okay, the rainfall, this criteria becomes important of 22 days and 0.25 milli. But this is obviously not true through the entire India. Like if areas like Cherrapunji, which has 1200 centimeter of average annual rainfall, and even if there for 1 week they do not have 0.25 of rainfall, that will be considered as drought period. Okay, so it depends from area to area. In general, like areas which have less than 60 centimeter of rainfall annually and rainfall variability more than 20% are the drought prone areas. Okay, variability means that the chance of rain happening or not happening and less than 60 centimeter annual rainfall. So these are the drought prone area. And when it comes to that, since it is a state subject, so state government is the final authority when it comes to declaring a region as drought affected. And Union of India has published two major documents when it comes to managing a drought. And if the variability of rainfall is more than 25% and it happens over large majority of the country, like approximately 50% of the entire area, the variability is more than 20-25%, so it means that half of India is vulnerable to drought, making it as a huge challenge, especially because we are a developing country. Now, which are the important documents? So basically there are two important documents on managing the drought they can ask you. One is Manual for Drought Management, and it is published by Ministry of Agriculture, by Department of Agriculture and Cooperation in November 2009. And second is Guidelines for Management of Drought, and it is by National Disaster Management Authority in September of 2010. Now, what are the standard monitoring tools? How do you know whether the drought is happening or not? So, when we talk about Manual for Drought Management, it recommends four standard tools. One is the rainfall deficiency. Obviously, it makes logical sense, right? If you are measuring rainfall. Second is extent of area sown. So, obviously, if there is drought, then you decrease that. Normalized difference vegetation index. You don't need to understand what this index is. Just remember these four things because they can ask you an MCQ. And fourth is moisture adequacy index. And they all these four can be applied in combination to know whether the drought is happening or not. And out of these four, at least three should be adverse to declare drought. And all these informations are available at the level of tehsil or block or taluk. So drought is declared by the state government at the level of administrative units. Okay, it cannot be on basis of like colonies and all. It is based on the administrative units. Finally, states are not bound to use the standards for declaration of drought, and many states depend on the failure of crop measures to declare a drought. So that depends on state to state. Then you have Swaraj Abhiyan versus Union of India in 2016. So Supreme Court stated that drought would certainly fall within the definition of disaster, and this definition is under section 2D of Disaster Management Act of 2005. What does the definition of disaster here means? Now important, please remember it. A catastrophe, a mishap, a calamity or grave occurrence in any area arising either from natural or man-made causes or by accident or negligence, which result in substantial loss of life or human suffering or damage to or destruction of property or damage to or degradation of environment, and is of such a nature or magnitude as to be beyond the coping capacity of the community of the affected area. So this is the Disaster Management Act. Please remember this definition. You can write it in the mains exam and it will help you in the prelims exam as well to solve a lot of MCQs. Now when we talk about features of droughts, so you have the 2010 guidelines for management of drought, and it is issued by National Disaster Management Authority. So it categorizes drought as a natural hazard, and it is different from other hazard because like other hazard like earthquake, tsunami, etc., they'll just start very fast, but it has a very slow onset. It evolves over a month or even years, and it affects a very large area, but it causes very little structural damage. On the other hand, the other disasters cause vast structural damage. Okay, and its onset and end and severity are very very difficult to determine also. And like the other hazards, the impact of drought will be in economic terms, environmental terms, human terms, social terms, and like other disasters as well, it can be mitigated and you can prepare for it and you can prevent it. Okay. And again, as I was saying, the concept of drought will vary from person to place, and like depending upon climatic condition, water resources, agricultural practices, socio-economic attributes of a region. Okay, so arid and semi-arid areas like Rajasthan, Gujarat, they are very vulnerable to drought. Okay, and they like what drought is a very recurring feature. It happens every now and then. However, this traditional approach to drought of semi-arid and arid areas changing. Now even regions with high rainfall often face severe water scarcities. Now see this interesting thing. Examples include Cherrapunji in Meghalaya. So what happened was, like in Cherrapunji in Meghalaya, it is one of the world's highest rainfall with over 11,000 millimeter of rainfall, and it faces drought for 9 months of the year. On the other hand, the western part of Jaisalmer district of Rajasthan is recording around 9 centimeter of rainfall in a year, and both have like drought like conditions. Can you imagine, like such a stark contrast, yet both have drought like conditions? So please remember such stuff. Now when we talk about classification of drought in India, so the 2009 manual of drought management, which was issued by Ministry of Agriculture, it classifies drought into three categories. One is meteorological, one is agricultural, one is hydrological. So meteorological drought is defined as deficiency of precipitation from expected or normal levels over an extended period of time. That is, normal levels can accommodate up to 10% deviation from long term average. And meteorological drought usually precedes other kinds of drought and is said to occur when the seasonal rainfall received over an area is less than 25% of its long term value. Long term means like last 100-year data and so on and so forth. And it is classified as moderate if the rainfall deficit is 26 to 50%, and severe deficit when the deficit is more than 50% of the normal. Okay, so that is called as a meteorological drought, you can see here. Then hydrological drought is basically reduced stream flow, inflow to reservoirs, lakes, ponds, reduced wetlands, wildlife habitat. So deficiencies in surface and subsurface water supplies, which leads to a lack of water for normal and specific needs. And such conditions arises even when the precipitation is average or above average, but the water usage increases. Then you have agricultural drought. Agricultural drought means like soil water is deficient, so plant water stress happens, reduced biomass and yield. So soil moisture, rainfall are inadequate during the crop growing season, and it will cause extreme crop stress. Okay, so it happens, and agricultural drought arises from variable susceptibility of crops. It depends from crop to crop as well. In India, if a period of 4 consecutive weeks of severe meteorological drought with a rainfall deficiency of more than 50% of the long term average, or with a weekly rainfall of 5 centimeter or less from mid May to mid October, the Kharif season, when 80% of India's total crop is planted, or 6 such weeks except this period during the rest of the year. So that will be described as a drought in this sense, agricultural sense. Now, when we talk about high vulnerable areas, so there are three areas which are highly vulnerable to drought. First is the arid and semi-arid area of Rajasthan, northern Gujarat, southwest Haryana, southern Punjab, western MP, and Agra division of Uttar Pradesh. Here the rainfall variability is very high of 40%. Okay. Second are the rain shadow areas of western Ghats like Sahyadri mountains, Jalgaon of Maharashtra, then Hyderabad, Mehbubnagar, Bidar, Bijapur, Coimbatore, which are on the rain shadow sides of western Ghats. Okay, it is this area where you unfortunately thousands of our farmer brothers, they commit suicide. So that should be prevented. Water should be supplied there. Other drought prone areas include like Kalahandi of Odisha, Purulia of West Bengal, Palamu Plateau of Jharkhand, Mirzapur Plateau, Bundelkhand Plateau in UP, Baghelkhand in MP, etc. Now, when we talk about drought management versus drought relief, there are two different concepts. So, before 1987, government tried to provide relief to the people of the drought affected areas by providing them employment, food grains through public distribution system. So, the cost was very heavy, and in order to overcome this problem, drought management was adopted. And this strategy contained early warning indicators, timing of public intervention, etc. Now, the objective of relief approach was to protect entitlement of the affected population, and against this, the drought management approach aimed at entitlement to produce food. Now, while the drought relief approach relied on crop production data price rise, what you did in drought management was approach is relying on more on rainfall, cropping pattern, water level of reservoir. So this was before 1987 when we come to drought relief, and drought management it was in later period. Here the employment and food grains are provided through PDS. Here entitlement to food produce. Here the cost is very heavy. Here the cost is very less. And here the crop production data, price rise, etc. was there. Here early warning indicators, timing of public intervention is there, and cropping pattern and water level of reservoirs are the primary consideration. Then you have, sorry for this, then you have DAPP. Okay, so that is drought prone area program. So you can see it here. So it was a central government initiative to resolve issues of countries, those regions which are often affected by droughts, irrigation system, and it is not developed properly. So its main objective is to minimize the impact of drought on productivity, livestock and human resources, and Haryali project is also included in it. And this program covers 972 blocks in 164 districts of western, central and southern parts of the country, and the main objectives are like judicious and scientific utilization of land, stabilizing the income of drought hit people, restoration of ecological balance, and important elements of the program include integrated watershed management, soil and moisture conservation measures, and afforestation. So this was everything which you need to know about drought. So you can write a very big essay now. Thank you for watching this lesson. Have an awesome day.